For over 20 years, the Atlantic Mayors Congress has provided a forum for exchanging ideas and a unified voice for municipal leaders in Atlantic Canada. The Summerside edition has a particular focus on addressing housing and homelessness, with sessions engaging community, provincial, and national perspectives.
BlueMetric is mission-ready water. We are world-class experts solving our clients' most challenging environmental problems. BlueMetric provides a full range of environmental consulting services supported by bespoke engineering solutions for emergency, self-contained, and permanent water systems, and is always mission-ready with a full range of in-house support. There is no successful mission without water. We are proud to partner with Atlantic Canadian Industries. We are mission-ready water.
I'm Alan Dale from Gale Force Winds. What an absolute pleasure it is to be here in beautiful Summerside, Prince Edward Island at the Atlantic Canadian Mayors Congress. A lot of great conversations happening. Big thanks to our friends here at BlueMetric for having the vision to bring this conversation alive. Sir, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you're up to?
Sure. Well, my name is Fred Hutton, and I'm the MHA for Conception Bay East Bell Island, and I guess the fairly new Minister of Housing, which is a new standalone portfolio with the Government of Newfoundland and Labrador, just since about February or March, in that range of time.
Minister, obviously the Newfoundland government's got a great vision on housing. They've created its own ministry, putting you in charge. Tell me what you're finding out of this conversation here with the Atlantic Mayors right now that's intriguing you.
Well, Alan, first of all, thanks for your time. I appreciate it, because it's always nice to be able to talk a little bit more about it in depth rather than short little sound bites that show up in media. And I understand that, because that's my past, and you have to condense stories. But it's nice to get to talk a little bit more about it, and we are trying. And I think that just a few months ago, the Premier recognized, within the last little while, that housing is such a prominent issue in our society right now. Affordable housing, homelessness. And it's not just in Newfoundland and Labrador. It's here in Prince Edward Island. It's in Nova Scotia. It's in New Brunswick. It's Ontario. It's Quebec. It's right across the country. And if you look, we all have the sum of all knowledge in our hands walking around every day, and videos show up in the United States, in other countries around the world. It's a huge issue. Affordability. The cost of living is bleeding in there, of course, obviously one of the main contributing factors to people finding themselves either homeless or, close to homeless, precariously housed. Mental health issues, drug addiction. There's the complexities of it are just so deep. The concept here, why having housing as a standalone portfolio now, is to give it that extra attention, that laser focus, so that we can look at ideas on what we can do differently, how we can approach things differently, how we can make it, more succinct with other streams of government. Because if you're talking about people who were unhoused or facing homelessness because of mental health issues, well, then you're involving the Department of Health. If it's addictions, also the Department of Health. If it's something to do with the justice system, people who are getting out of incarceration, have served time, now they need to live somewhere. All these, that would funnel in with justice. If it's income, it's related to CSSD, which is Children, Seniors, and Social Development in our province. So all these departments have to work together to solve a common problem of homelessness, which is why we're giving it that attention. And rather than having Newfoundland and Labrador Housing Corporation, and if I can just take a minute just to talk a little bit about our housing corporation, NLHC, Newfoundland and Labrador Housing Corporation, is essentially the largest landlord in Newfoundland and Labrador. We have 5,600 homes, places that people call their home, that we manage on a daily basis. There's several hundred, if not thousand, more people who benefit through Canada Housing Benefits, which is basically a rent top-up. We've got a waiting list for housing. But it's not because everybody is homeless. It's because 2/3 of the people who are on that waiting list can't meet their bills on a monthly basis. I mean, you go out shopping anywhere now, things are more expensive. And we've seen this dramatic increase since 2020, since COVID. And coming out of that, the prevalence of mental health issues, the prevalence of addictions, and affordability. These are three keys there that we're trying to address. and so many people are faced with those challenges every day. There's a huge team of people back in Newfoundland and Labrador who are addressing those issues and are really keenly trying to find solutions on a daily basis.
Minister, I love the way you so clearly explain that. It's a piece of the puzzle. Mm-hmm. It's an important piece of the puzzle, but you guys understand that all of these pieces have to fit together if these solutions are going to come. And there's one thing I do know about Newfoundland and Labrador is that when we put our mind to it in that province, we can get it done. There's something very special happening in that place, whether it's government, industry, academia, community, all work collectively together. Tell me what you're most excited about into the future. I mean, I look at the province of Newfoundland, whether it's the energy sector, which is just booming at the moment, renewable and otherwise, whether it's the tech sector in Newfoundland, it's unbelievably exciting, mining, it goes on and on and on. Government with a steady hand on the tiller there, keeping us pointed in the right direction. What are you most excited about?
Well, I'm excited to see the potential that's there. And as you know, because I met you in the Premier's office before when you interviewed the Premier a couple of years ago, and it's interesting because Jerry, who is your colleague, he and I go all the way back to kindergarten. We went through our entire school careers together, and we've known each other because he worked in media as well for many years. I'm excited to see that there's that potential there. It's the reason I left media to get involved in this with Premier Fury, because I believe in the vision that he has for the province in terms of these bigger picture things. And Alan, those are the wind projects, a new industry there. That is what is going to be able to make us be able to afford things like increasing funding for housing and the social programs that we provide to people who need it. One of the things about, and I've known this all along, but when you travel more in the province and through my position with the Premier and now as Housing Minister, Newfoundland and Labrador is massive. And if, to listen to folks this morning at the conference here, the Atlantic Mayors Congress, what they've said so far, they're facing all the same issues we are in Newfoundland and Labrador. But there's one thing that sets us apart from it. Newfoundland and Labrador as a landmass is 3 times bigger than PEI, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia put together, and we've got a third of the population spread out over that. So, for example, I just got back from Nain, which is almost to the tip of Labrador. It's pretty far up there in Labrador, very remote. There's only one way in, or 2 ways, by boat or by plane, and I guess snowmobile in the wintertime if there's enough snow. So to get materials to build housing there for folks who need it. We just committed $12 million over the next few years for housing initiatives through Newfoundland and Labrador Housing Corporation, which oversees social housing in the province. The Nunavut government, which governs the area, they just built a 6-plex and a 10-plex up there. Fabulous work done in partnership with the government, the federal government, and some of the money that they have as well. But to get the materials there, the challenges you would face to try to get the roofing materials, all the sticks and lumber, they're looking at some modular things as well, but these were stick builds, what they call, the basic construction, what most folks are used to. But to get all the material up there, all the plumbing material, to get the people to work there on a project of that magnitude, but I mean, we're taking bigger steps to recognizing the complexities that people are facing. It's not just folks who, lost a job and then all of a sudden they've got nowhere to live, they're being evicted, and they've got to find somewhere to live. A lot of the folks who are chronically homeless are facing mental health addictions, and complex issues that need help. So one of the things we've done, you may or may not be aware of it, we've leased a hotel, what was a former hotel by the airport, and it's going to provide these transitional supportive living. So that folks, and I really truly believe this just in my short time, but prior to this, is that finding somewhere for somebody to live is not the only answer. Put them in a house and go, okay, we're done here. You're good. No, the issues that those folks are facing, they need wraparound support. So in the hotel atmosphere, the idea of this 140-room hotel, former hotel, folks go in, they sign a lease, it's their place, they've got a private room, they've got a bathroom, food services provided in the hotel. You can eat in your room or you can eat it out with the other groups. There's rooms there where folks can meet, but there's also counseling on site. There's health practitioners on site who are there to support folks. So when they open the door, if they're willing and want the help, they can get it and break that cycle of homelessness rather than just being stuck in a place and you're alone and okay, you're in out of the elements, but you've got no one there to support you. So that's the idea, to break that cycle of chronic homelessness. We've seen the problem grow exponentially over the last few years for whatever reason. There are a multitude of reasons, but we need to be there to support people. It's not just about finding housing for them. It's about having the supports there readily available to them should they choose to accept it. And I mean, it's worked in some places in Nova Scotia. We're getting this up to speed now. We've got some folks in there. We're ramping it up, but we know that the problem is not going away. That's why we need to face it head on, but to also address those other issues through CSSD, through income support, through justice, through healthcare, and through housing, and all work together.
Yeah, no, again, I go back to my comment that you guys get it. You get that this is a puzzle and all of these pieces need to come together. It's not just about a house. It's about the wraparound services and it all. And I'm glad that you're bringing that discussion to the Atlantic Mayors Congress here today. I want to take you down. We were up at about 30,000 feet there talking about some grand issues. Let's get right down into your backyard there, right into that group of people that just elected you into office, and talk about the exciting things that are happening right in your own backyard.
So my district, for your viewers who may not know, is probably, my house is probably a 12-minute drive from Confederation Building, but it's outside the city. But then another portion of it is Bell Island, which of course you have to get a ferry to. The population, about 2,400 people over there. That district was held by a different party for about 20 years, but we flipped it back in January. And it's so funny because when I was going around campaigning, I was asking people, now listen, you got to make sure you get out and vote in the advance polls, or send in your mail-in ballot if you want, do it that way, whatever we get, but in case we have a storm. Well, what happened on January 29th? We had a big storm. They had to postpone the vote until the next day. I tell you, it was the most stressful time, but to know that in the end, voters did put their faith in me. And it's so funny because, in a community I've lived in for so long, my parents had a house out there my entire life. I've lived there pretty much all of my adult life as well, with my own family raising them. My kids went through school out there, but just to reconnect with people, it was really a cool experience, I gotta say. And I've said this before, when I left my job in broadcasting, it was a bit of a, it was one of those times when COVID was just coming on stream. Everybody was sort of reassessing their life. What are they going to do? The Premier had asked me to come and work with them, and I didn't. I mean, once you cross over, you're kind of gone out of broadcasting into politics. I really loved his vision for the province and some of the things we've done since getting in there, and I got to work, very closely with him for about 4 years. But to get to reconnect with all the people out there and to show that, to be shown the support that I was given, and not just that, but the folks who helped with my campaign. I've got a couple of hundred people. It's a by-election close to town, so I mean, it was really inspiring to have that support. And was not my plan when I left 4 years ago to run, but the opportunity came up. It is my district. And I just, I really have enjoyed it, working with the councils. I mean, I've got a good relationship with Mayor Gazine, who just retired after 35 years in that role from Bell Island. Mayor Carol McDonald is here. She's always been a great supporter. She was the first mayor of Portugal Cove. And then when it became Portugal Cove St. Philip, she became the mayor afterwards. So she had like that gap of 25 years. She's here. And Mayor Dan Bobbitt from Paradise, because I represent a large portion of Paradise as well, about 5,000 people. When they reduced the seats from 48 down to 40 a few years ago, Paradise was sort of split into a couple pieces, and Bell Island and Portugal Cove and a little bit of Paradise became part of the district, which I now represent.
Wow. Exciting times for you. And one last question for you, Minister, then I'll let you get back into those meetings. But before you came on the show, you and I shared a moment, and you presented me with a wonderful pin all around bringing a Newfoundlander home. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about that and the importance of that for Newfoundland and Labrador right now.
Well, I'm off camera before we met, just for your viewers, I ran into one of your friends who I'm going to have a further conversation with, who has a 40-year military career history, and I had forgotten about your military past. So we had these pins commissioned, and it's to commemorate the return of the unknown soldiers. So, you know, the War Memorial, the National War Memorial in Newfoundland, was put there before the National War Memorial in Ottawa, because remember, in the First World War, Newfoundland was its own, was not part, you know, was not part, right, prior to 1949. So the War Graves Commission. I mean, when you want to move a body from a war grave in France and get it back to Newfoundland, that is a big deal, right? That just doesn't happen overnight. This has taken years and years. One of the first meetings the Premier took when he was in office was with the group from the Legion, from you know, Gary Brown, their crew, and they came in to the office and talked about what they wanted to do and wanted support, and the Premier is all about it. I mean, if you want to talk about somebody who is a patriot of Newfoundland and Labrador, he absolutely is. And visited France and Beaumont-Hamel, you know, the Danger Tree, the area there. You've been there, so you know that it's very moving. And to know that the freedoms that we enjoy today, and people talk about it in broad strokes, it's true. We get to do what we do today because of, you know, the fact that those folks fought for the freedom. So this is I guess a commemorative pin, the National War Memorial 1924 to 2024, because this marks the 100th anniversary of that National War Memorial. Yeah. So I wanted you and to thank you for your service in the military in the past, and your colleague, your friend who's here.
Well, thank you very much. And Minister, thanks for being on the show. Thanks for your vision for Newfoundland and Labrador. All of that stuff doesn't happen without a steady hand on the tiller, and we certainly appreciate your service to our province. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. And when Jerry asked me in the Premier's office one day, when you were interviewing the Premier, you should come on the show, I was like, no, I had no idea that I would actually be sitting here, and I honestly mean that. I didn't think that at that point in time that I would run and then, you know, take on this ministry, but I'm happy to be here. There's a lot of people here. You cannot do this alone, and the one thing that you'll hear from the group here through this session is it can't just be the municipalities, it can't be just the province, it can't be the feds, it's everyone's problem, it's everyone's issue. We've got to deal with it together, and it needs everyone's attention now. I'm talking about housing, other issues obviously, but from my perspective in housing, we need all hands on board, on deck to do this. And thanks for your time.
Yeah. Well, that's a wonderful conversation right there on Gale Force Winds, and I can tell you this, the world needs more fellas like Fred Hutton. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Alan.
Blue Metric is your partner and works with Atlantic Canadian industries and organizations who are concerned about the water health of our planet and the people who inhabit it in an environmentally and culturally sensitive manner. Blue Metric joins the growing number of like-minded, innovative Atlantic Canadian companies who are changing the environmental landscape for the globe in a world-class way. World-class experts solving our clients' most challenging environmental problems. We are mission-ready water.